All right, here we go, continuing with the Big Men Wrestling series. And if I'm going to talk about big men, I have to talk about probably the most famous big man professional wrestler of all time, Andre the Giant. So, Andre the Giant, let's get to the size right off the bat. Most people probably remember him as being advertised as 7'4" or 7'5" and around 500 pounds. Huge dude. Nowhere near 7'4" or 5" though. When he started wrestling in France, I believe, and you could look up these things and find like old height billings and stuff like that. He was advertised as being 6'10" or 6'11". Later on in his years, more like 7 foot. I recall a Japanese wrestler in an interview saying he was measured at a genuine 6'11" in the locker room. That could have been at nighttime. People do lose height during the day, by the way. I tell people I'm 5'10". First thing in the morning when I wake up, if I measure myself, I'm actually a little over 5'10". Once at the doctor, I was measured 5'10" and a half. I don't know how accurate that was. I feel like in the morning when I wake up, I'm a little under that. But then by midday, I'm 5'10", and then by evening, if I measure myself, I'm a little under 5'10". So my average height, I would say, is 5'10". So it's possible Andre might have been measured in Japan in the evening. That large, he might even lose an inch by the time you get to early evening, or half an inch. I think as a young man, he hit 7 foot. I definitely think that, judging from old photos and old height billings and things like that. I think when he came to the United States, they started doing the 7'4", 7'5" billings. If you see a picture of him online with Wilt Chamberlain, where they're standing next to each other, they're about the same height. Andre might be a tad shorter. I think Andre kind of looked shorter than he actually was because his features were so large. He wasn't like a thin, lanky basketball player, and that thin and lanky makes you appear taller than you actually are, I think. His hands, his head, his feet, his bone structure, he had acromegaly and gigantism. So, his bone structure was considerably larger. So, I think he hit that 7 foot mark, but pretty early in his career, I think he started shrinking because of the compression on his spine and his weight. I think he got down to about 6'10" by the mid 80s, honestly. I can't find it, but I remember years ago seeing an article that when he died, he was measured at 6'10", and I think about 500 pounds still, legitimate. So there's rumors he was even well over that at certain points in his career. And Andre was incredibly athletic. If you look at videos from when he was younger and he wasn't hitting that 500-pound mark, the way he would move, and I remember he would do a move where he would wrap like 2 opponents around his legs and bounce them up and down. He would take slams. I think by now everyone knows it's a myth that Hulk Hogan was like the only or the first person to slam him. He was slammed plenty of times throughout his career. And that takes a lot of athleticism. As I said in the other videos, it takes 2 wrestlers to do these moves, and they both got to be athletic to do it. His strength, from what I heard, was unparalleled. I mean, you could find stories about that online. And also his safeness in the ring. If he liked you, I've heard stories that if he didn't like the wrestler, he might knock him around a little bit more. But Bret Hart tells a good story of Andre the Giant dropping an elbow on him and how he felt like someone had put a blanket on him. Like, he was just so safe in the way he worked and did things that that's a big part of the athleticism of the big man, that they could do these things and not hurt people in the process. I wish I watched wrestling more when he was around. I knew him more through the movies like Princess Bride, etc. But still a fascinating figure to this day.